first reading today is from Genesis chapter 1, verses 24 to 31. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things, and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our own image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
Have you ever done something, anything, stepped back and thought, that's good? Maybe you've planned a party and it's all come together and you've thought to yourself, I've done a good job. Or perhaps you've made something and thought, that's pretty good. Or gone for a long walk and got your heart rate up and thought, that's good. Or settled down with a book in the sunshine and relaxed and thought to yourself, this is good. How did you feel? What did you think in those moments of this is good? We like thinking that we are, that we have been good, that we do good things. At the same time, we have this constant nagging at the back of our minds that maybe we aren't really good. Maybe the times when we felt like we've been good are aberrations and not the truth of the matter, which can cause us to question what it even means to be good. So I'm going to worry the bone around what is good for a bit, thinking out loud in a way, and you may have your own thoughts and ideas to add to the mix. I begin with the premise that human beings are binary creatures. By that I don't mean that we have two of things like hands and feet and eyes, although hopefully most of us do. What I mean is that for the most part, we see things in black and white, off and on, good or bad. We have a rather poor facility for recognising the in-between. An obvious example of this is that the worst times of day for car accidents are at dawn and nightfall. This is because the half-light confuses our senses that are best designed for light on or light off, but not really anything in between. We hate that no man's land of a draw. There are winners and there are losers, and there's nothing useful in between. Even the Bible tells us that we should let our yes be yes and our no, no. The desire for a clear, concise, non-ambiguous answer seems to be baked right into us. Unfortunately, as we all come to realise as we get older, life is not all blacks and whites. There are infinite shades of grey between the two, and what is worse is when one set of shades conflict with another set. For example, a young person's parents tell them they need to be home by 10 p.m. They know there's a little leeway in there, but it's important to the parents and thus important to the young person. So far, so easy. The young person is going out with someone they rather like. They want to spend as much time with each other as they can possibly manage. On its own, an easy choice to make. But when the needs of the couple are weighed against the needs of the parents, there is a clear and present conflict. Both sets of needs exist, and both sets of needs are valid. The parents would say home by 10, and that's the end of the story. But we all know that it is not the end of the story. Suddenly, for the young person at the centre, there is no clear, concise, non-ambiguous answer to a seemingly simple situation. If they obey their parents, they are good in the eyes of their parents. If they stay out longer, they are good in the eyes of their someone. Parents would argue for one thing, young people for another. Neither are wholly correct and neither are wholly wrong. It's a grey in between. Of course, this is just a single example. I'm sure that with a little thought we could think of many other examples where two different good things are in opposition to each other, and the point at which they meet is a murky space full of confusion. Think crime and punishment, poverty and wealth, kinds of education, economic ideas, the list goes on. Without it, we would have no place for politics. Shock horror. So this is our problem. What is good? How do we know it is good when we see it? How do we know that this good is better than another good? We could go down an endless rabbit hole of if this, then that's, but I don't think it's helpful, at least not right now. The question that needs answering is, how do I choose the right good? First up, just to be completely annoying, I'm not sure that, with the exception of extreme edge cases, there is such a thing as the right good. Many things that are good in one moment are not good in another. This cake is good today. Left for a week, it may no longer be quite so good. It's good to discipline a child in the right moment, but leave it for too long and the punishment will no longer have context. Definitely not a good thing. Everything can rapidly become very confusing. In the end, I can't give you a straight answer to the question of what the right good might be. I can only give you another question. Will the decision you make or action you take build stronger relationship with God, yourself, and others? Even this question has its pitfalls, but it points to something else that we too easily forget in the church. God has given us brains for a reason. We need to exercise them when we come to the grey murk of what is good, and we need to share our conundrums and confusions because there is wisdom in many counsellors. More in a moment.
The second reading today is from Mark chapter 3, verses 1 to 6. The man with the paralysed hand. Then Jesus went back to the synagogue, where there was a man who had a paralysed hand. Some people were there who wanted to accuse Jesus of doing wrong, so they watched him closely to see whether he would heal the man on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man, "Come up here to the front." Then he asked the people, "What does our law allow us to do on the Sabbath? To help or to harm? To save someone's life or to destroy it?" But they did not say a thing. Jesus was angry as he looked around at them, but at the same time he felt sorry for them, because they were too stubborn and wrong. Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and it became well again. So the Pharisees left the synagogue and met at once with some members of Herod's party, and they made plans to kill Jesus.
Sometimes, when we get it right and we do something good, it is not seen by everyone else as good. In the case of our reading, it's clear to an external observer that what Jesus has done is good. He's healed a man with a withered hand. There's no question that the healing was a good thing. But the Pharisees didn't see it that way. I suspect that if pressed, they would have been forced to admit that the man being healed was good. The problem was that they saw a clash of goods going on. For them, the good that had been performed was done in opposition to another good that they held to be more important. No working on the Sabbath was an important good for them. If the man wanted to be healed, he could come back another day, and Jesus could do the work of healing then. Of course, you and I look at the situation with the benefit of 2,000 years and think how stupid the whole argument was. Why should it matter if the man is healed on the Sabbath? Jesus, on the surface of his words, would agree with our assessment. I think there is more to it, though. God is very clear in the Old Testament, which was the only testament back then, that the Sabbath was to be kept holy. There were religious reasons for that. There were also social, physical, and economic reasons for it. In fact, the whole issue is not at all clear-cut, and Jesus would have known this. There was no particular reason why the man with the withered hand couldn't have been healed the next day. When Jesus performed the healing, he was making an active decision to choose one good over another. In doing so, he was upsetting those who felt that the good he had chosen was less important than the good of their preference. Truth be told, this happens all the time. When different goods clash, people often become upset. Which leads me back to our first reading. We read that God saw everything that he had made, and it was very good. Even then, there is a hint at conflict of different kinds of good. Every green plant is given for food. What then of the carnivores, the lions and the tigers? Did they eat grass? It's highly unlikely. So unless they were created after the fall, we're only seeing the part of the story that suits the narrative. What is the good we are looking for? Maybe peace and safety? Which is fine unless you have a digestive system that cannot process vegetables and fruit, in which case you would have a very short lifespan. There's no question in my mind that God understood all this. And there's no question for me that when God created human beings, we were given the tools to work through what all this means for us. Which leads me to ask, what did God mean when he said it was very good? I have this feeling that the creation story is not designed to give us some hint of paradise lost. Rather, it's there to remind us that as we co-create with God, everything, and I mean everything, we do has the potential to be good and the potential to be less than good. Does that mean that we cease creating lest we make a mistake and end up with something not good? Not at all. It means that we create and see that in our best attempts, in any attempt, we are emulating our Creator. We may often create in ways that seem destined to fail from conception. We should always create with a view to being able to say, it is very good. Not because it's perfect, but because in creating, we are fulfilling our destiny. Made in the image of the Creator God. Creating is good, even when our feeble hands make a mess of it. And sometimes, in our mess, something amazing comes to life. We pray. Good, good God. We are frequently confused and dismayed when our efforts to do something good seem to come to nothing or worse. We want to believe we are at least not bad, but quietly afraid that we're really just not very good at all. Help us to see that you love us, no matter how much good or not good we manage. Guide us to keep creating, keep adding what good we can to the world. Grant us courage to work for the greater good. Walk alongside us and use our small talents to your glory. Through Jesus who challenged good with good. Amen.